Hey, sixth grade, this is your video for Thursday, March 26th. You're going to begin a new story today, which we'll spend a couple of days reading. It's about a girl named Sinella, who is originally from Bosnia, but because of a war that breaks out there, her and her family end up leaving to a refugee camp in Yugoslavia. So the story is partly about her family's journey out of war and all of the things that they experienced there. And it's also a story about her discovering Jesus in the midst of those circumstances. And I thought it's a particularly relevant story for our moment right now, because one of the things I think that you'll notice is that in the midst of her challenging circumstances, Sinella is looking for peace and happiness, and she senses that she doesn't have those things and comes to find them in her relationship with God. And I think for all of us, even though thankfully most of us are not in a situation anywhere near as difficult as having to make a new life in a refugee camp, we are in a weird and challenging situation right now in our country and in our city, even in our school as we're in this extended learning time. And a lot of people have fear and anxiety. So what does it look like for you as you read this story to think about the choices and decisions she makes? How can we also think about our choices to move toward peace and happiness and life that can be found in Jesus? So encourage you to read that with curiosity about learning someone else's experience and story. And then when you get to your work text, I think it's kind of fun. It's not really your typical sort of English stuff. You're going to be doing activities where you're having to read timetables to figure out how to take a train, and also looking at different time zones on a map. So I hope you enjoy that. It looks fun to me. As you then move on to writing and grammar, your lesson today is called Modifiers, 247 and 248. And essentially what they're doing is they're taking all of the lessons that we've done so far since you've been home about different kinds of modifiers, adjectives, adverbs, and prepositional phrases of different stripes and types, and they're putting them all together in one lesson to be sure that you really get it and can sort of make sense of the different kinds. So your really quick review is that adjectives are words that modify a noun, a person, place, or thing. So the happy teacher would be an adjective because happy is describing who? The teacher. Now, if you wanted to say that the teacher jumped happily, suddenly happily becomes not an adjective but an adverb, because it's no longer describing a person, the teacher, it's describing an action, the verb, and it's saying how did they jump? They jumped happily. And then if we want to talk about prepositional phrases, remember that those are short phrases that describe relationships, and they always start with a preposition. So if we wanted to talk about a prepositional phrase, we might say, the teacher jumped happily in the kitchen. And then we have that prepositional phrase there, in the kitchen. And what is it modifying? Well, it's telling you about where did she jump happily. So that we would call that an adverbial prepositional phrase because it's modifying an adverb. As you go through, there is a BJU lesson in the Google Doc, so if you want to watch that, there's also the blue box has a review for you at the top of the page. And I thought really quickly we would do numbers 1 and 2 on the guided practice to kind of get you started. That first sentence says, some insects can be useful for killing pests. Some insects can be useful for killing pests. So useful is underlined. That is our modifier. And what they want to know is, do you know what word it's modifying? What is useful telling us about? Well, useful in this sentence is telling us about insects. So you're going to draw a line from useful to insects. And then is that an adjective or an adverb? Well, it's describing insects. Those are a thing, an item. And so that is an adjective. It's not an adverb. It's not describing how, but it's describing what. Then number 2, we have ladybugs in your yard are pest killers. So in your yard is underlined. And we know that in your yard is talking about where the ladybugs are. So we're going to draw that arrow back. It's modifying ladybug. It's giving us more information, expanding it. That's what modifiers do. And because it's talking about ladybugs, is it an adjective or an adverb as a prepositional phrase? And the answer, of course, would be adjective, because it's describing a thing, a ladybug. It's not describing a verb, the way that they move or whatever else. So hopefully that helps you as you're getting started. Again, if you have any questions, take a picture of what you're working on, email it to me, or just shoot me a quick note. I'd be happy to talk more and help you make sense of it. Don't forget to keep up with your spelling. This video is for Thursday, so tomorrow, Friday, we will do your spelling test on your list 26 words on the video. And I'd love to have you guys keep up with those and keep making progress on spelling even as you're at home. Hope you're doing well. Talk to you soon.